Hello and welcome back to the Orient Addicts podcast. I'm joined with an Orient fan here to discuss both Saturday and Tuesday's game. Hello, Ian. How are you today?
I'm all right, thanks. Cheers.
So first of all, how did you become an Orient fan? How long have you been supporting Orient? All that stuff.
Right. I was brought up in Loughton in Essex, or Debden Estate, and the local football team, everyone, if you support your local team, you either support West Ham or Loughton Orient. And I went to Loughton Orient. Used to come with my brother. Started about 1964, I think.
Okay, thank you. Now let's move on to the main topic that we're here to discuss. Obviously, the games. So we'll start off with Stevenage at home. Were you at the game?
No, I watched it. I watched it though on the uh, telly, on the cup, whatever you call it, cast. You know,
The live
the
stream,
live
yeah.
stream. That's the one. Yeah. Sorry, took me a while to think what it was. Yeah, so I watched it on that, and so obviously it's not as good as being at the game. It's the same with Tuesdays as well. But there was a couple of things that I thought were painful, to be honest.
Yeah, what were your thoughts on the match?
Yeah, basically, I don't think our goalkeeper was particularly good. I've put this on. I put this on the media, social media, and because I thought, I mean, he didn't kick the ball. Every goal kick, he passed the ball to a player next to him, one of the centre backs, and therefore, if you're starting on your 6 yard line, then that's a hell of a lot of space for the opposition to set up in. Um, People say that he was told to do that because Stevenage are good in the air, but it's not about winning every ball in the air. It's about winning the second ball. And if you close them down, if the gaps are tighter, in my opinion, then what will happen is you've got more chance of winning the second ball. If a bloke can head the ball when he's got no one near him for 20 yards, then other players can get there. You have to. It's about cutting down the space, I think. But I know not everyone agrees with me.
Yeah, I think that is a valid point, though. What did you think of Stevenage, though? How do you think they played as a team?
Well, I think we gave them too much space and too much respect. And the other thing in particular is that all our players didn't look like we wanted to play forward. We was playing backwards all the time. Every time we got the ball, it seemed that we wanted to play sideways or backwards. Again, giving them too much space to dominate the midfield and to cut out balls. To me, it wasn't a particularly great performance. And I think that, I'm not going to single out anyone, but there were like I say, a few players who just wanted to play the ball backwards all the time, and I just don't think that that's the way to do it. I think we played a lot better Tuesday at the start. I know the results, is not good in there, but we didn't look like we wanted to play football. And on Tuesday, I actually put on social media 10 minutes in, it looked like we were playing football. We're actually getting the ball forward. We're trying to, we dominate the game. Goalkeeper was booting the ball, and it was a better performance, worse result. But there you go.
Yeah. Are there any positives you take from that game at all?
The one on Tuesday, yeah, because we actually, when we were stroking the ball around, we actually looked good. When we were playing forward, we were actually attacking and going forward. We looked good, except I think there's a discipline problem, shall we say. I'm not the only one who believes this. I mean, what is it, 27 yellows and 5 reds in 8 games? Something like that, I think the stats are, off the top of my head. And when the players do it, it's one thing. When the bench and the manager and assistant are doing it and getting red carded and things like that, there's obviously a big discipline problem at the club. In my opinion, some people will say, and I've said that we're being targeted, and it's referees got in for us. Well, sometimes you get a bad ref, accepted, but if you're answering back, if you're giving the referee grief, no matter in what situation they are, and let's be honest, some of the cards that we got were very much as a result of bad refereeing, bad decisions, and our players complaining about it, which is fair enough. But under the rules this season, the referees are clamping down on all this, and you've got to learn to just maybe say something sensibly and without too much passion, just quietly to the referee, and then just walk away. And I don't think that's happening. And I think it's going to cost us, because now every referee, every game, they're going to look at what's gone on before, and they're going to be ready for it. They're going to be there. The first moment anyone says something untoward, then they'll jump down on it. So I think that somewhere along the line, the culture's got to change. And I think that, Richie should be pulled aside, if he hasn't already been so, and told, look, it starts with you. You've got to get it sorted. Get your side sorted, and then you can sort the players out. Maybe that will help, but who knows?
Do you believe he is the root of the disciplinary issue?
Well, it's like those in glass houses shouldn't throw stones. And if he is doing it, then the players know, or would know, that they aren't necessarily going to be able to get disciplined for it by the club, because they'll just turn to him and say, well, you're doing it. And to me, I think it's born out of frustration. I accept that. And we have had some bad decisions, so let's be honest. But it's still got to come down to him. The buck stops with him. He's got to get himself sorted. And I really think that if he does, and the players keep their discipline, both on the pitch in terms of their personal discipline and the discipline of what he's trying to teach them to do, or how he wants them to play. Although I think against Stevenage it was wrong tactics. I think that they'll be all right, but they've got somewhere along the line, it's got to change, in my opinion.
Do you think the manager needs to change? Are you happy with Richie in the job? Do you think he has a long-term future here?
No, don't change. No, don't change the manager. He's doing a really good job. But as I say, this is the one aspect that he needs to, or the club need to, get hold of, because, as I say, if you're known years ago in the 70s, Leeds were always called dirty Leeds because they got that reputation. And if you get a reputation of being a certain type of team, the referees are going to pick up on it. They're going to. Everyone knows they're going to. Because the referee, before he even comes out of his dressing room, he'll be saying to his assistants that, look, if they give you any grief, I want to know, and we'll jump on it straight away. They're bound to, they're human beings. And I think we're making a lot for our own back with it. And I think if we could change it, I'm sure we can, it'll be better. But no, I don't think there's a problem with the manager. I think the manager's a good manager. He done well for us since he's been there, really, after one or two before that. And he's done a good job. I just think maybe he needs to take some anti-stress pills or something, because I know it's an emotional game, and I know it's difficult for him, because if he don't do very well, his job's on the line. Maybe, I hope not, but maybe he just needs to just be reined in a little bit and rein the players in. But you can't rein the players in unless he's reined in. It's, because it don't work like that. You've got to set an example. You're the bloke in charge. You've got to set an example. If you're not setting an example, then you can't really expect other people to do it on their own.
Yeah, obviously the disciplinary issues had a big part in the collapse in the second half on Tuesday night. What did you think of that second half from yesterday?
Well, I think we got the wrong end. We got the rough end of the deal. I don't think we should have had. Certainly, the second red card, I don't think was a red card, and the first one, I don't think was really. And I just think it was whether something had gone on before that. The referee was getting a bit, I've got to stamp on this because you have to really, everyone knows that referees are assessed in the game by assessors in the stands, and he probably thought, well, I've got to get a grip for this, and he made some not very good decisions, and that obviously affected the result, affected the way we played, because then if you're getting people, we're getting red cards, and then you're getting yellow cards, then you've got to think, the players are all thinking, well, I can't do this. I can't go into this tackle in case I mistime it. I'll get sent off as well. So all those things all attribute to what happened. But as I say, I don't think that it's a problem with Richie or anyone on that level. I just think you just got to, basically, if you're getting a reputation for saying too much and being a bit aggressive, just got to rein it in again. But then, as I said earlier, they were bad decisions, and I can fully understand everyone getting very upset with the refereeing standard in that game.
Yeah, so I also wanted to know, what did you think of our games before Stevenage, our earlier parts of the season, and our summer transfer window and things like that?
Yeah, well, I think we did all right in the transfer window, but players came in late, and if they come in late, then they're not up and running with the way you want to play, and so it takes them a while. I don't think there's going to be any major issues. I don't see we're going to get relegated or anything like that. I think we're going to be okay in the season. I think the games before that, again, were a bit hit and miss. 1 minute we seem to be doing really well, next minute it's nightmare. I think it's part of that is because players have to get used to playing with each other. And if you're example, like if a centre back, one will go for the ball every time, the other one has to then drop back and cover the gap. And it's learning these little bits when one midfielder's going forward, the others, which one's going to go with him, which one's going to hold. All these sort of things are things that come in time. And it's early days, it's still early days. I don't worry about it. All clubs have hiccups at the beginning. Well, some do. But you learn from it. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that side of the way we've been playing this season. I think we've got some good players in. Pigot's a bit slow, but then he's, that's not what he needs to be there for. He needs to have a few more balls put with his back to goal so he can hold it and lay it off. That's how I would play it, but different people have different ideas.
So obviously let's look ahead. How do you think we'll do for the rest of the season?
As I say, I think we're going to be okay. I think we just. I personally, I want us to win it. I want us to get promoted. But I think that's, like a lot of Orient supporters would love to get promoted again. But I think realistically, this season, around mid-table, maybe just below mid-table, that's okay because we've got it's a learning situation. We have got new players in. They've got to play together. Once they are playing together, I think it'll be fine. But I think one thing that I would say is that Sitoru needs to spend some time on a training ground having balls kicked at him, because his first touch, especially on Tuesday, was appalling, I thought. The ball kept bouncing off him. I don't think his first touch is there, and he needs to just work on it. He's only young. Work on it. Just have everyone, in the training, just kicking balls for 20, 30 yards at him, high, low, and he's just getting that touch better. Won't take him long. He's a good player. Won't take him long, but if he needs to get that, I feel, just get that touch better, and he will be a lot more effective than he's showing at the moment.
So going back to the sort of present, who would be, obviously it's a bit slim pickings, who would be your man of the match for Saturday?
Oh, Saturday, I wouldn't, none of them. Well, no, yeah, you've got I've forgotten his name. The Gabri, what's his name? The young lad we just got in. Oh, my mind's gone.
What position
to be
was
honest,
he playing?
He was playing at the back on the right. What's his name? I don't know if I can get it. Oh, what's his name? You have to edit this bit. Galbraith.
Galbraith, the midfielder, yeah?
Yeah, he was playing quite deep. I thought he was playing. I thought they started him at right back on Saturday.
Yeah,
I could be wrong.
They might have.
But he is showing that he's got some ability, and I think he played better on Tuesday. But I think on Saturday he was the only one that I thought was the best player we had on the pitch. That's as I say, I think he will grow at the Orient really well. He'll be a good, it's a good club for him to come to, and I think he will in a month's time. I think everyone will be saying how great he is, although some are saying it now. I think he's got a good chance, and I think he would have been, I think, in both games, really, my player of the match.
Yeah, obviously a very good player. Now, where do you think, table-wise, we will finish at the end of the season?
I think we'll finish maybe one or two below mid-table, but it's early days, and we could do a lot better once the players all bed in. And I think when we play football, we look like we can play the game. No two ways about it. But it's the sitting back that's the problem, and too much passing backwards. When we actually go forward and looking to go and play to attack properly, then we do well. So I would say mid-table, maybe slightly below. We won't be near the relegation, I can't say, because I think we're better than that. And the interesting game on the 16th against Peterborough, I think. That'll be an interesting game. Because I think they were after, I heard, they were trying to get Sotero up here, up to Peterborough. And obviously they didn't. But I think that'll be an interesting game. So we'll wait and see what happens with that one.
Yeah, but we will. And finally, where do you see Orient in 5 years?
Well, in 5 years, we'll definitely be in a championship. Because I think the owners have, they've got this plan how to do it. And unlike some clubs who, let's be honest, Salford was one of them, who had money thrown at them, and it wasn't sustained. What's happening, the Orient, with Mr. Teague and the others, they're looking at building on it gradually getting the players. gradually getting the crowds and therefore the salaries up and that. They're not just going to throw money at it because, we've seen that happen to so many teams, like teams like Portsmouth had money through them, and that isn't sustainable. We're doing it the right way. I think this is going to be the next 5 years. Going to be a really good time to be an Orient supporter. I just hope, because I'm getting on about, I hope I'm around to see what's happening in 5 years. You never know. We did one season in what is Division 1, which is the Premiership now. In I think it was 62,
61,
63. Yeah, and I take great delight in saying that we drew with Liverpool, and things like that. But let's try to get there again. And I think with the owner we got, I think the possibility, because of the way we're doing it, if we don't get there, you ain't going to fault anyone. But we're definitely, 100%, without fail, be in the Championship in 5 years' time. Unless we've already got there before that and then we've had a really bad season. But we will get there. No two ways about that. I'm completely 100% sure of it. I've been watching the Orient a lot of years, and believe me, I think that it's being done properly. We're trying to do things properly. The ground's got a million times better than it was. And, everything about the club is getting better in a lot of ways. Getting a promotion like we did last season was brilliant. And, 5 years, 5-year plan, 5 years to get there. We had a 5-year plan to get into Division 1. We did it before that. So let's see how it goes. But I'm pretty sure, 100% definite that we will be in the Championship.
It's nice to have confidence in owners after the period under Pachetti where it was just crazy, and it's nice to feel like you're in safe hands.
Exactly. And not only that, when we was in the player final a few years ago, and he was walking around, he was talking to all the supporters, shook people's hand. He's a good bloke. He's a genuine bloke. And I think that makes such a difference to so much of a football club. And yeah, I think we should have confidence. It's players come and go, as we know. I think if we can keep Richie for a couple more seasons, that'll help. But then it'll be who he gets in. If Richie decides to move up, which he might do, he might move up to a Championship team and not wait with us. But if that's his choice, it's his career. But I think, as things stand, definitely going up. The owners have got a lot of respect from me, as I say, because this team is a good bloke. He seems it. He seems to be genuine, and so onwards and upwards, as far as I can see it.
Yeah, thank you for talking to me. It's been great having you. I'll see you in a bit. Have a great one. See you in a bit.
Yeah, and you take it easy. Thanks a lot.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hello and welcome back to another episode. My next guest is Nigel Lovell. He is a comedian and an Orient fan. We'll be discussing both Saturday and Tuesday night's game. Hello, Nigel. How are you?
I'm well, Jack. How are you?
Yeah, I'm great. First thing I'd like to know is, how did you become an Orient supporter? How did you start supporting Orient?
Oh, well, I'm from Leytonstone, so I grew up with Orient really as my second team. And then when I was a kid, my dad wouldn't take me to football because it was perceived as being too violent and there was too much trouble around football in the 80s when I was a kid. So I didn't really start going to football until after I'd finished university. and my friend dragged me along to Orient, and somehow I just ended up following Orient, enjoying it, meeting everyone on the Met. There was a brilliant Orient message board back in the day, and I met people from that, and we'd go to the pub beforehand at the Birkbeck. It was just a really nice community, and it's that's how I became an Orient fan, mainly because all the fans are awesome, and results on on the pitch matter less than the friendships that we make at football.
Yeah, of course. Although those results are quite good discussion, so let's get into that. Did you watch Saturday's game?
Oh yeah, I was there.
Whereabouts were you in the stadium?
Well, I'm really lucky. A friend of mine has one of the flats on the corner between the west side and the north stand, and so we watch from the balcony, which means I can stand, I can watch the game, I can have a beer and a cigarette whilst the game's on, and get to see everything. Yeah.
Yeah, that is quite a fortunate scenario.
I mean,
So
before that, we were South Stand season ticket holders. So, yeah. I've spent a long time in the grounds before.
yeah. So obviously you watched the game. What did you think of it?
Well, it's simple. Stevenage just outthought and outfought us. Richie, as he admitted, just got the tactics and the personnel wrong for that game, and much as though we hate Fatty Evans, he did a number on us. Yeah.
Yeah, obviously he did a very good job in that game. How would you describe our performance as a team, though?
Well, we just. Unfortunately, I had to miss the game against Cambridge, which, of course, I've heard we played brilliantly and we were fabulous, but I wasn't there for that. But at the moment, I just feel that we're just not quite up to speed for League One. We're just that half a pace behind in things, and it will come. I think we've made some really good signings. I think we've got some players. Most of the players are more than able to play at this level, but it just takes a little bit of time for things to gel. I was impressed with Jordan Graham on Saturday. I thought that down the wing, I thought he was really good and put in a number of excellent crosses, and I was really surprised they replaced him with Moncur. What did you think about it, Jack?
I think it was a good game. I was there at the time. I mean, we did get outplayed in a lot of different ways. Obviously, they were the much better team. We did have early chances, but I think we failed to take them. Well, obviously we did because of the scoreline. But yeah, I think they just outplayed us, and I think tactically they were better because they are such a physical side, and we are such a technical side. So they knew exactly how to play against us. They knew exactly. They had a very, very good game plan which worked. And yeah, I just think it. I think they played it brilliantly because they just never let us hold the ball and build something.
Yeah, I agree. Obviously, if I think it was Sotirio's shot that came back off the post in the first sort of 10 minutes or so, wasn't it?
Yeah, it came off the bar, I think.
Came off the bar, that was it. I mean, if that had gone in, maybe things had been different. But I just felt that as soon as we went behind, you could feel the confidence just evaporate out of the team. And the goals we conceded, the first two were really quite soft goals. Our defence Our defence, we need to tighten up. I mean, their third goal, I thought, was a super goal. You know, there's not a lot you can do from that. If someone gets the ball 30 yards out and strikes it, and it goes above the keeper and dips in under the post, that's just a great goal. You can't legislate for that. But certainly, their opening to the defence could have been better. On the bright side, I still felt we played better than we did against Portsmouth.
Yeah, Portsmouth was a very bad game. It was sort of a collapse, and I don't think we really ever properly got into the game. I think for the first 20 minutes we were sort of level with them, but that was because no one was creating anything. But once they got that first goal, it just felt like, again, our confidence and momentum evaporated.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I mean, football very much, especially at these high levels. Football and any sport at that professional level is a confidence. Confidence is a massive part of it. If you look at last season, or even the season when we got promoted from the National League, if we went a goal down, the whole team had the confidence. That's okay. We'll still win 2-1 or 3-1. But it just feels at the moment. It just feels if we go a goal down, we're gonna lose by 2 or 3 right now.
Yeah. What did you think of the earlier part of the season? Obviously, this is not our only loss. We are quite experienced in that this season already.
Well, as I said, the Portsmouth. Trying to think which games I've seen this season. I certainly saw the Portsmouth game. I don't get to every game. I've been because I'm a comedian. I spend a lot of Saturdays working. So I was doing sort of festivals all through August. So I did Latitude and Green Man Festival and Big Festival, another one in Tower C. So I haven't been able to see all our games, but I think it's good that we've got Sol Brim back. Like I said, I saw Howes in goal, who we signed from Wealdstone.
Yeah, correct.
And I'm afraid I just don't have the confidence in him to, especially after the game at Portsmouth. I thought he was awful. But if you look at the rest of the team, obviously we've got El Mazzuni, who we know is a good player, very capable of playing at this level. As I said, I was really impressed by Jordan Graham. Brown, who was with us last season, I think is capable of this. Galbraith, I think, is a great player, or has potential to be. Archibald's played at this level before. Theo's. I think when Theo plays well, I feel that Orient play well. But at the moment, I'm just very concerned about getting a settled defence. I mean, if you look at last year, which I know it was an exceptional year, and we had an exceptional keeper in Viggs, but if you look at that season, we conceded. We won the league because we conceded so few, and I think that having a solid defense is the foundation that any good team is built on.
Yeah, obviously not a great performance, and obviously one we won't want to look back on very, very often. How do you think we'll do for the rest of the season, though?
It's a tricky one. I think we've probably got a good enough squad to stay up. But we're at the moment we're only 1 point above the drop zone. Sorry, not 1 point, 1 place above. And it's only early. We're only 6 games in. And we've got a lot of people out injured. So I think that once we start getting people back from injury, and once the team gels together a bit more, learns to play with each other, perhaps learn not to get sent off every game, that'd help. Better disciplinaries. Then yeah, I think I'd like to think we're going to be okay. And I mean, for me, a successful season to me this season is staying in League One. That's what I want. As long as we finish above the drop zone this season, to me, that will be a successful season. What about yourself? What are your expectations?
Well, I think it would be. I think it's mandatory for us to stay up. I think that is an expectation now. With the squad we've got, with the manager and everything, and how we played last season. I think we're sort of expected to stay up. So obviously, I think we will. I think I'd be happy with something like 12th to 15th, but I think more realistically is like 16th, 17th, but not really in the relegation fight. So just above that relegation fight.
Yeah, I mean, we will have to wait and see. Obviously, I mean, we had a very difficult start to the season, but then again, we were playing. Who were our first three games?
I think our first game was definitely Charlton.
Yeah.
Let me have a look through here.
Pre-season were one of the promotion favourites.
But they're not doing very well at the moment, are they? They've actually sacked their manager already.
Yeah,
which is quite interesting.
But so we had
Charlton, then Portsmouth, then Wickham.
Portsmouth, then Wickham, and Portsmouth and Wickham are certainly doing okay. You know, they're all stronger teams. I think losing against Stevenage was losing to Stevenage at home is a real worry because they came up below us last season. So theoretically, we are better than them, except we were definitely a long sight worse than them on Saturday.
But yes, you also forget that they did beat us last season.
No, yeah, they did. I hate Evans, but he does know what he's doing.
He is a very dislikable person, but the way he runs a team is quite admirable, and I hate to admit that, but the way he gets his players to play is, and the way he gets them so well drilled is very admirable.
Yeah, it's.
I think their style of play also only works against certain teams, like, and I think they'll do well this season. Sadly, I hate to admit it, but I think they will do well.
Yeah. I mean, they're third in the league at the moment, so they're yeah. And then staying up though. I mean, I've got to reiterate, it's just so important. We got out of League Two last season. I'm so pleased we managed to. Obviously, I'm so pleased you managed to get any team that gets promotion makes you happy. But if you look at the teams that are in League Two this season, I think it's a really difficult league to get out of this season. I mean, we played last night. We played Gillingham in the Mean Nothing Trophy, whatever it's called,
the Football League Trophy.
Oh yeah, I don't think I've ever been to a game of even not since the under-21 teams were allowed in.
They are still allowed in. Yeah, they are. They're still allowed in, and I think it's called the Papa John's Trophy.
Since they allowed those teams to come in, I don't think I've been to a game of one of those games. I can't remember being to one, not even for free. But we lost to Gillingham last night, and we had a pretty strong team out last night.
Yeah, and a big issue within that game, especially the second half, because second half is where it all went wrong, was the disciplinary issues which you mentioned before. What do you think about those?
I mean, all I've seen is some highlights and read some comments on different Facebook groups. I couldn't see what Shaq Ford got sent off for. It looked as if he was making a run and their player was holding him back, and he's just pushed him. But I'm prepared to be corrected if there was more to it than that.
But yeah, I think it's a very bad disciplinary record. I think it was. I can get the stat up now. Yeah. It is. I think it's something about 26 yellow cards and 5 reds in 8 games, which is not a usual disciplinary record.
No, part of that though is because we aren't used to, especially in these first few games, it takes you a little while to suddenly realise how much quicker the game is at this higher level. So players are putting in tackles that last season they'd have easily happily won the ball with, whereas because they're up against a little bit of quicker pace or whatever, this season they're catching the player, and of course it's a yellow card. Also, some of it's going to be frustration because we're not getting the ball, because we're not being able to boss the games like we did last season. Players will get frustrated, and some players will react. And yeah, I mean, it's not great. Wellens has got to get a hold of it and turn it down, because do you know what? It's one thing saying, well, the ref was rubbish, but he can't have that many rubbish refs in that few games for them all to get all of these yellow cards wrong. It's just not possible. We've got to have a look at ourselves.
Yeah, definitely. Where do you see Orient in 5 years? Where do you see us being?
Oh, I don't know. Probably bobbing around mid-table in League One, I suppose. I'd love to see it say, oh, in 5 years' time, we'll be in the Champions League. But let's be honest, it's not going to happen. It'd be nice to be up in the Championship, but who knows? We don't know what could happen in 5 years' time. Yeah, let's get through this season and see it. I mean, I reckon this is how I would plan for things. I would see us staying up this season, mid-table next season, promotions the season after. Playoffs the season after, and automatic promotion the following year if we didn't get promoted through the playoffs. So yeah, 5 years' time, let's say Championship.
Yeah, I think with the way we're going, that is actually quite realistic. Something that's greatly helped us climb the leagues is our owners. Obviously, they had a 6-year plan to get from the Vanarama National League to League Two, and they did that in 5 years. I think good stewardship at the ownership level is quite important, especially if you're trying to climb the ranks.
Oh, it is hugely important, and Nigel and Ken, and in fact, actually, not just the ownership committee, but actually the management committee have got my full backing, and I've got faith in them. They're not in this to try and turn a quick buck. They're not in it for the glory of, oh, look, we own a football team. They want to make this a proper, financially stable, going concern, successful football team. And you can see the passion in them. Whenever you speak to any of them, you can see how much they love being part part of Orient. It really is really gratifying to see.
Yes, it really is. So finally thing I'm going to ask you, obviously I asked how you thought this season was going to go, but I'm going to ask you one last question. How do you think we'll finish the season? In what position do you think we'll finish?
Oh, what position do I think we'll finish the season? I can see myself finishing this season slumped on a chair in the supporters club, drinking a pint of the best ale, because the supporters club's got the best beer in the country, and bemoaning the fact that we just scraped through and stayed up by one goal in goal difference. Let's go for that. I think we're going to have a tough season, and we're gonna stay up, but only just.
Okay, thank you. It's been great having you.
Thanks ever so much, Jack. I wish I could be much more positive about this coming season, but I think these first few games have showed just how difficult the season ahead's going to be. We shall see.
Yes, we shall. Thank you for coming on. You've been a great guest. I'll see you in a bit.
Thanks very much, Jack. Cheerio.
Cheerio. Goodbye.
Up the O's.
Up the O's. Thank you for listening to the Orient Addicts podcast. If you want to see Nigel doing comedy, he is running a comedy night at the Heath Court and Star on Thursday, the 21st of September, where Nick Helm will be headlining. Tickets are available on the Heath Court's website. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed, drop a like and tell me how I can improve in the comments. Thank you.